Hey guys, so I picked up this 2012 MacBook Pro from Marketplace for only $25 to see if this thing was still usable today. It was in pretty decent condition, except it didn't have a charger. So I had to pick up a charger for 15 bucks. And then I wanted to upgrade the RAM and put in an SSD in it and see if this thing is still usable. So the RAM and SSD cost me 25 bucks. And as you can see here, I swapped out the RAM and I wanted to put in 16 gigabytes of RAM just to see how it would perform. I also picked up an SSD of 128 gigabytes and I wanted to install macOS on it. While installing the RAM, I did not screw back the cover in case something didn't work or I had to go back in. And thank God I didn't, because you can see my dumbass take out of the 4 gig stick and then put back the same 4 gig stick. And so when the project was complete, I was really confused because it was showing 12 gigabytes, but then it turned out I didn't put the other 8 gigabyte stick. So anyway, I put in the SSD and then I wanted to use Open Legacy Core for this. So these older MacBooks do not support the latest versions of macOS, and there's a lot of applications which will straight up just not run on older Mac. So after I installed the RAM, you can see me here building the installer for macOS. I used a different computer for this, and so I had to figure out how to do that. But once you read through the steps on their website, it's actually not that bad. All you gotta do is boot from the USB, and then you let the patcher do its thing. And so the drive that I got from Marketplace, it had a partition on it, so I had to format the partition, and it took me a little while to figure that out. But yeah, once you format the SSD, you want to use the partition that's supported, and then you just want to let the installer do its thing. And after waiting like 30 to 40 minutes, the installation was finally done. The computer will restart throughout the process a couple of times. Just don't do anything and let it do its thing, and you'll be booted into macOS. As you can see here, we have macOS Monterey. I wanted to go with Monterey because it's fairly recent, but then I realized that Chrome doesn't support it, so in a future upgrade, I'll maybe bump up the version. Yeah, I was testing out some of the apps, and then I tested out YouTube. Everything works pretty decent, and if you're looking for like a secondary machine for everyday tasks, this thing is pretty awesome. Now, looking at the cost of all the SSD and other components, I think I can sell this thing for like $100 on Marketplace and make a profit of at least 45 bucks. Now, the last thing to do before we finish this is just to give it a very good wipe. Now, ideally, my favorite thing to use to clean laptops and everything is isopropyl alcohol, but I didn't have it at hand, so I used wet wipes. You can see that the screen here is really dirty, but just a quick wipe and it looked flawless. The previous owner for this laptop really took good care of it, and it really doesn't have like major dings and scratches that you see on older ones. So after a few seconds of scrubbing and cleaning and wiping it off with a microfiber towel, this thing looked absolutely flawless. Like, look at that. Thank you guys for watching.